Hello my friends, this is Legendarma TV. It's good to see you, and today we're going to be talking about the third and last primeval of Vindictus. That's right, we're going to be talking about Power Infusion. Power Infusion is something that you want to do in the late game to infuse your gear with extra stats like critical, balance, attack speed, defense, and so on. Vindictus, that little bastard from Melina, the red-haired boy, is responsible for people's loss of gold through the gambling in the Power Infusion, trying to get these +2 sweet stats on their gear. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Power Infusion process, which is really not too hard. And we're going to be talking about some of the minor things linked to the recent changes that happened in the last patch that makes power infusing for new players actually way more easy. Please enjoy. Now, before we approach Vindictus, let's talk about the types of element stones that there are. There's only two. There is blue, regular element stones, and there is intermediate element stones. Now, there is only 2 slots in the gear of a character that are still relevant that you would want to use the regular blue element stones on. That would be a brooch and a necklace. And if we look into the brooch types of brooches, if you have a white kitty brooch or blue kitty brooch, or if you have any type of necklaces, kitty necklaces, besides the red one, these are below level 100. They're all like level 70, level 60. So, and the stone is 60 to 80. So you would want to use these element stones on these 2 slots. However, if you purchase yourself a red kitty necklace, you would want to use intermediate element stones because the red kitty necklace is level 100. So you can't use the regular element stones on it. You would want to use intermediates, which is 81 to 110 gear. And that's about it. So everything on your gear, you would want to use intermediate element stones, and for the brooch, except for the Red Moon Bridge because it's level 100, and necklaces, kitty necklaces, you would want to use regular blue element stones. And now the power infusion process itself. It's quite easy, besides the fact that you have to look at the Vindictus smug right here, and you wanna, after a couple of fails, you actually want to just punch him in the face, but it's quite easy. This tab opens once you go to Melina to Vindictus to infuse your gear, and what do you want to do? You want to put a item into the slot, like let's say I have this Nile's earring. And since the Nile's earring is level 105, we would want to use intermediate element stones right here. Now, it's going to charge you a little bit of gold, it's going to charge you a little bit of AP as well, and you just press infuse, and he infuses and he adds stats to your gear. Now, there are different types of stats that can be applied. Usually, whenever an item has base stats like intel, strength, stamina, or whatever, it will either go from +2 to +4 or -2 or -4 different stats. It gives you any different stats, any values on that item. So if we press infuse there, we might actually get +3 willpower, or +3 strength, or -2 agility, or -3 intel. So it varies. Now, what stats do you want to look for in Power Infusion? You would want to look for balance, critical, and attack speed. Attack speed is probably the least one you want. The major one is probably the critical chance. So you just pour these intermediate element stones into the tab, and you just continue infusing until you get yourself, you score yourself a really good infusion. Now, as you probably figured it out, Power Infusion is a huge gamble, because sometimes it takes 5 stones to score +2 critical or +2 balance on an item. Sometimes it takes hundreds, and I mean hundreds of stones to actually finally get yourself an infusion that you're looking for. So this thing, why Power Infusion is a prime evil, why it sucks so much, because it's such a gamble, because there is such a range of stats and different values, different combos of it that you can score. You can get strength, -3 strength like 5 times in a row, and then get +2 agility and stuff. But you don't want these stats. You want either critical or balance. So it takes a lot of gold or a lot of farming to get these stones, because every infusion costs 1 stone. So it gets costly, and it gets quite frustrating. Now, Power Infusion doesn't boom your gear, doesn't destroy your gear, so you only just apply either positive stats on it or negative stats on it, and then you override them if you want. So that's why it's not as bull-busting as enhancing or enchanting. Now, for the safeguards, there are 2 types of safeguards, and usually nobody uses them. To be honest, they don't really give you that much. But if we would talk about Vindictus Safeguard, the regular one, basically whenever you score a negative infusion, let's say -2 agility, for example, it will just reset it to 0. So it will consume the intermediate element stone, but it will not change the infusion on your item to a negative. So basically it's going to be clean again. You just wasted 1 stone, but it's going to be clean. There's not going to be, let's say, if it rolled -2 critical, there's not going to be -2 critical on it. It's going to stay clean. If it's a positive one, it will be applied. Now the premium Vindictus Safeguard, the difference between them is it clears any negative stats applied by Power Infusion, and you can select either a new Power Infusion that's going to be given there, which, let's say, it says +2 strength, right? And you already have like +3 agility. So you can either choose, you want to go with +2 strength, or you're going to keep at +3 agility. So these don't really, they don't have a game changer on these runes. So, and they actually come very rarely from the events and stuff. So I wouldn't really count on the safeguards too much. In Power Infusion, sometimes, it's easier to score some stats rather than the others. The thing is that whenever you look at the item, and the item has base stats on it, so if we just look at any Militian offhand, Focus, Shield, or Book, they have critical as a base stat on it. So landing +2 critical on these items is going to be way easier to land +2 balance, because the book doesn't have balance as a base stat. So rolling +2 balance on the book is going to be around 0.4% chance, right? So it's super low, while rolling critical is going to be 10 times easier. It's going to be around 4% or something like that. So whenever you're infusing your gear, you make sure that you're scoring the infusions based on the base stat that is on that item. And we're going to talk about the best infusions in the next tab, in the next part. So let's say the belt, for example, has base balance on it. So scoring +2 balance is going to be super easy to do. Well, it doesn't have the critical on it, so it's going to be way harder. Now, one more thing, and it's a huge tip for everybody, and this question been asked a lot of time. If you put an enchant scroll that actually gives the item critical, for example, right? So Vehement actually gives you crit. Does it mean that if I have a Vehement Spirited Belt, does it mean that I can score balance and critical at high rates? No, you can't. Enchants actually do not contribute to the increase of the rate, of the successful rate of the stat. Only the base stats do matter. So no matter if you put Vehement in Enchant Scroll, it doesn't mean that your chances of scoring +2 critical on that item is going to be increased. Only the balance, because it's a base stat. That's why weapon and rings are easier to infuse with either, because they both have critical and balance as their base stats. So whenever you're going to be infusing your rings or your weapon, you're going to be scoring +2 balance or +2 critical very, very fast, because they both are base stats for these items. Now that we're done with the Power Infusion process, which is actually pretty easy, right? Let's talk about the best in slot infusions that you can score on each piece of gear. When it comes to the earring, you would want to have +2 critical. because it has a critical as a base on it, so the chances are higher to land +2 critical on it. The weapon, you either go critical or balance, depending on what you need. The offhand is the same, it's critical, because they don't have balance. Sometimes you can actually score balance before critical, but that's very, very rare. So you would want to have critical on your offhand. The belt is always balance, so it's very easy to score. The rings is the same as the weapon. You want either critical or balance depending on what you need. If you're lacking some balance, try to roll +2 balance. If you roll +2 critical before +2 balance, it's still pretty good. Now, the bracelets and the artifact don't take infusions, so we just skip that. As for the brooch, whenever you have a blue kitty brooch, which has critical as a base stat on it, you want critical on it. If you have white kitty brooch, it has speed, so you would probably want to attach some speed on it. But if you happen to get yourself a red moon brooch, you definitely would want to go for the critical because it's a base stat on it. It's better than +1 attack speed for sure. When it comes to the armor, it's a little bit different. Now, armor doesn't take, you can't score critical or balance on the armor. The best stats that you can get here is either defense, which is a +100 defense or something like that, or critical resistance +1. Critical resistance, as you know, it decreases the chances that the boss is going to crit on you, which is really good. And defense is just a flat defense increase, so you take less damage overall. So for the armor, you want to go defense or critical resistance. It's up to you. Everything else is pretty much +2 critical, besides the belt and the weapon, if you need to score balance, if you need balance more. And for the necklace, it's either crit or balance. You see, the problem with the necklaces is necklaces don't have either critical or balance as base stats. So infusing your necklace with +2 crit or +2 balance is going to be a nightmare. Or you can actually be super lucky and score it really fast. So this item is going to be really hard to infuse. And it's going to take some time to do that. Now that we talked about everything power infusion wise, you are probably, as a new player, you're dreading. You're like, holy, I'll have to spend so much time like grinding for the stones or just farming gold to buy these stones and do that. You actually don't really need to worry about it, because with the recent patch, they added the 100% guaranteed +1, either critical or balance, element stones into the Seals of Shop. So if we go to the exchange shop and we go to the seal shop, at Seals of Bravery, you can actually see that 100 Seals of Bravery, you can buy yourself a critical +1 element stone or balance +1 element stone. These were also added to the guild shop, and you can buy them with guild seals as well. So basically what they do, you buy one of these stones, you apply it to your gear, and it's with 100% it rolls +1 crit or +1 balance. So infusing your gear is going to be super easy as a new player, and you will have this nice boost of stats by just farming Seals of Bravery. Because power infusion on its own is a very important aspect of gearing, of progressing, because your technique keeps on raising. The more critical and more balance you have, the stronger you become. So whenever you, as a new player, you're going to be, you will get to the point where you want to infuse your gear, I highly recommend to save your Seals of Bravery and buy yourself this +1 crit or +1 balance depending on what you need, and infuse your accessories with that. Now, these stones only work for accessories, and it says in the description. So necklace, jewelry, rings, and belts, and earrings. And the good thing about it is that, as we said in the Best in Slot part, which was the previous part, the necklaces don't have base stats on them, so scoring +2 crit or +2 balance is going to be a nightmare. So these stones are actually come into play, and they're super handy for new players, because they're 100%. Yes, they are only +1 of these stats, not +2, but it's still better than nothing, right? So the addition of these stones is freaking amazing. it will allow you to actually score whatever you want, and you don't need to worry about you know, the chances, right? Because as we talked about it, the belt doesn't have balance on it, so doesn't have crit. Sorry, doesn't have critical on it. So scoring critical is going to be way more harder than scoring balance. You can actually, if you want, if you're looking for crit, you can actually buy yourself a plus 1 critical 100% stone and apply it on your belt. So it's really amazing. The introduction of these stones is super amazing for new players to catch up, to gain more technique, which is crit and balance, become stronger, and unlock the endgame raids faster. This is it for today, covering Power Infusion, the third and final prime evil of Vindictus. It's quite ball-busting if you're super unlucky landing these infusions, but infusing your gear is quite important in the long term because altogether they do boost your character quite well and allow you to participate in more endgame raids. Thank you so much for watching. This was Legendarma TV. Please subscribe to YouTube channel, join my Discord, and stop by Twitch as always. Guys, I love you all 3,000. Please be safe and stay safe, and I see you very, very soon.